Chapter 10. The Pirate Ship. The pirates carried the children to Captain Hook's ship, the Jolly Roger, lying at anchor on Kidd's Creek. The grim craft was covered with the bloody stains of piracy and war. She was a cannibal of the sea and reeked of horror. The children were locked in the brig below. The men leaned over the ship's low rails, staring at the ink-black sea, or sat on deck playing cards or dice. Smee, the pirate despised by all because he was so pathetic, sat in his sewing machine quietly at work. Hook stalked the deck, deep in thought. He had just rid himself of Peter forever, and the children were doomed to walk the plank. But there was no joy on the captain's dark face. On the contrary, the captain was dejected and alone. No little children love me, he thought. The idea had not bothered him before, but now, as he watched Smee, it did. Children thought Smee was lovable, though Smee himself thought children feared him. Cook wanted to clout Smee with his iron claw, but stopped short. Unhappiness overwhelmed him. Hook quickly turned his attention to the children. "Are they chained so they can't fly away, sir?" he bellowed. "Aye, sir," answered a pirate. "Then hoist them up," Hook ordered. All but Wendy were dragged from the hold and lined up in front of Captain Hook. Hook stroked his chin. "6 of you will walk the plank tonight," he said with a hint of pleasure in his voice. "But 2 of you I need for cabin boys. Which of you will they be?" "I don't think my mother would want me to be a pirate," Toodle said. Slightly said the same, and so did the twins. Hook was annoyed. "Stow the gab," he roared, and then turned to John. "You look like you want to be a pirate, my hearty," he said. The truth was, sometimes in school, John had thought about being a pirate. "I once thought to call myself Red-Handed Jack," John replied. Hook beamed. "A good name, that," he said. "And what about you?" he asked, turning to Michael. "What would my name be if I joined?" Michael asked. "Blackbeard Joe," Hook said. Michael was impressed. "What do you think, John?" he said to his brother. "Would we have to give up our citizenship?" John asked. "You would have to swear. 'Down with the king,' Hook demanded. "Then I refuse," John said, banging his fist on a barrel. "And so do I," Michael joined in. The Lost Boys shouted their approval. "Then your fate is sealed," Hook shouted. "Bring up their mother," he ordered, "and prepare the plank." The boys were frightened, but each tried to look brave when Wendy was brought up from below. "So, my beauty," Hook said in a voice dripping with honey, "you are here to see your children walk the plank, eh?" "Are they to die?" Wendy asked. "Yes," Hook said sharply. "If you have any last words for them, speak them now." Wendy looked into each boy's face. "These are the last words all mothers would say to their children," she said firmly. "I hope you will be brave and die like an English gentleman." The pirates were awed. The boys stared at one another. "We will do as our mothers hope," they said. "Silence!" Hook shouted. "Tie her to the mast." Smee tied Wendy to the mast in the center of the foul ship. I'll save you if you promise to be my mother, he whispered into her ear. Wendy shook her head. Never, she said scornfully. The boys weren't watching Wendy. Their eyes were glued on the plank. Their thoughts were on the last walk they would soon take. Hook grinned fiendishly. Suddenly, the grin turned to horror. The night breeze carried with it the steady tick, tick, tick of the fearsome crocodile. The crocodile is going to board my ship, he exclaimed. The terrified captain fell to the deck and crawled as fast as he could to a dark corner. Hide me, Hook shouted. His men formed a tight circle around him. The moment Hook was out of sight, the boys rushed to the rail. To their great joy and surprise, it was not the toothsome crocodile climbing the side of the ship. It was Peter! Peter put his finger to his grinning lips to quiet the boys and then went on ticking.